Hello students, good morning all of you. Today we'll learn a new part of the force and pressure chapter of your physics. Frictions. Today we'll learn about frictions. So first of all, the definition of frictions is the force obtained by rubbing two different objects against each other is known as frictional force. The frictional force is the rubbing of two different objects against each other. And in other way, we can say that friction is the force that opposes the motion between two objects. That opposes the motion between two objects. For examples, a rolling ball or we can say football comes to rest after some time due to the frictional force present on the ground of the ground. Similarly, we can say if you stop pedaling your cycle or the moving cycles, it will stop after some times. Why? Because the frictional force that develops between the tire of your bicycles and the ground. So when you stop pedaling the cycles, it will be stopped after a while or sometimes. Here we can say, so you can see frictional force is the contact between two objects. So surely frictional force is a contact force and it always acts to oppose the motion of a body over a surface. When you stop pedaling your cycles, the moving cycles, it will stop. Why? Because it is running or moving on over a surface, we can say the ground, and the ground opposes the motions of a tire, so it will stop after sometimes. Here is the pictures of a wooden box on the table. So how the friction works, it will state here. If we move an object which has irregular or rough surface on another surface which is also irregular or rough, like in the figures, moving of wooden box which is irregular on the table which is also irregular, it is not possible, or it is difficult to move because the force of frictions will be high in this case, and the movement of the wooden box on the table is difficult because the object would be restricted to the frictional force due to frictional force, and the both the objects are rough in nature, so it is difficult to move and the force of friction is high in this case. And types of friction is not in your book, but you have to learn the types of frictions to know the frictions better, and to know the advantages and disadvantages of friction better, you have to know the types of frictions. There are various types of frictions are there, that is static friction, sliding friction, rolling friction, and fluid friction. Mainly four type of frictions are there. Now we are moving to the advantages of frictions. There are many advantages of frictions are there which is very applicable to our daily life, such as due to frictions it allows us to walk on the earth surface. If there is no frictions on the earth surface, so we can easily slip on the roads when we are going to walk. So it allows us to walk on the earth surface. Second point, it allows us to write with a pen on a surface or a paper. If we are going to write something else, with a pen on a polished or smooth surface, it can not be possible. So there is some roughness should be there on a paper or on a surface, so that we can write something with the help of pen. Third things, it allows us to fix a nail in the wall. In this case, both the nail and the wall has the rough surface, so that it is easy to hold the nail onto the wall. Fourth, a moving object would never be able to come to the state of rest. Mind it, a moving object would never be able to come to the state of rest without the frictional force. If we start pedaling our cycles and it moves, if there is no frictional force, it would not be rest, and it always moving forever. Last things, striking a matchstick, it is used in our daily life. Striking a matchstick is possible, or matchstick could catches fire due to the frictional force between the matchstick and the surface of the matchbox. Here are the some examples or advantages of frictions. I'm writing here 5. Then moving into the disadvantage of frictions. Likewise, advantages of friction are there. Also, some disadvantages of friction are there. And we know the resistance of frictional force not only take the advantages, it also produces some disadvantage in our daily life or any other objects. First things, frictional force results in wear and tear of an object. Frictional force results in wear and tear of an object, like moving parts of a machine, the tires of a vehicles, sole of shoes, etc. These things, if running in regular basis and the friction is produced in regular, so these the parts of or whole parts can be damaged, and it results in wear and tear. Second things, it also results in the production of heat. It is very important to know that in frictions heat is produced. The important thing is heat is produced. So the production of heat in the frictional force can damage the machines, and it can lead the wastage of energy in the machine, or in the machine part we can say the production of heat can lead to the wastage of energy. Third things, the frictional force also leads to a decrease in the speed of a moving object, or sometimes it can stop it. Frictions in regular basis can decrease the speed of a moving object, and we can say finally it can stop it. Last things, it can lead to noise pollutions in some certain cases, like aircraft can produce loud noise due to the resistance of air. It is the only examples you have to remember. It can lead to noise pollutions in certain cases. And finally we are moving into the how we can reduce and in minimizing the frictions, and how we can increase the frictions. So first of all, how we can reduce or minimizing the frictions. 3 points basically are there: polishing, lubricating, and by using wheels. Polishing the surface of contact. We know that the two surface of contact is there in between the friction can produce, so the surface of contact between the two objects can be smoothened by polishing to reduce the frictions. We can polish the bearing balls of cycles or any other vehicles so that it can smoothly work. It can smoothly move the tire parts or any other moving parts easily, and reduces the frictions. And second things, lubrication is very important. Lubricants are there like oils, grease, and we can say graphite powder, which can be used in machinery parts, to reduce the friction between the two objects. If the lubricants if we cannot use the lubricants, so the machines can damage, it won't work, and it can produces heat. So after some times or after some years, the machines uh, can't would not work. And third thing is that by using wheels, it is a very common method. uh, One thing, dear students, remember that it is difficult to carry a trolley bag without wheels on a ground. If the trolley bag has the wheels, it is very easy to carry the trolley bag on the ground. Why? Because without the wheels, the trolley bag has the kinetic frictions, and all the force is applied on the bags, which opposes and the ground opposes the frictions very much, and the force of friction is very high in this case. So if we reduce the force of frictions of the ground to the bag, we can simply use the wheels. So the kinetic force of the bag, without the wheels, the bag has kinetic friction. So when we attach wheels on the trolley bag, the kinetic frictions can be transferred into rolling friction, and it is easily carryable of the bags on the ground. Then we can say the force of friction is less here in this case. Now, after reducing or minimizing frictions of some instance, we are moving into the increasing frictions, and in some ways we can also increase the frictions. First things, we already know that the some parts of machines, tires of vehicles, sole of shoes can be damaged or can be wear and tear after using some. So the sole of the shoes is grooved so that the friction between our feet and ground increases, and we can walk safely. If the sole of the shoes is not grooved, we can easily slip onto the ground, and the force of friction is very less in that case. So it is very important to groove the sole of shoes so that friction can increases and we can walk on the ground safely. Second thing, likewise, the group of the sole of shoes, we can treat the tires so that it can get a better grip over the ground, and it allows the smooth movement of the vehicles on the ground. Then third things, matchboxes have rough surface because of to increase the friction to light the matchsticks by rubbing the matchstick onto the matchboxes. And final is that sand and gravels are used. We know in village area or in some damaged road sites during rainy seasons, the roads get muddy, the roads becomes muddy. So sand and gravels are used on slippery grounds and or roads during rainy seasons to increase frictions so that one can walk easily and safely. Now your friction part is over. Remember all the meanings uh, read the part again, and if possible write some important points like advantages, disadvantages, reducing, minimizing the friction or increasing the frictions, and definitely the definition part, and remember to learn the frictional force by using diagrams.